This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I've been reviewing a lot of niche high-end laptops lately, and I have to say, I'm kind of loving it. The HP Spectre Fold is like a folding phone at a laptop size. This is so cool, but it's probably not for you. Hello, my name is Brad, and I review tech for creative professionals. And okay, this thing costs $5,000. I get it, that is just crazy, but I am also really glad it exists. Asus has made something like this. Lenovo has made a folding laptop that I took a look at earlier this year. That one's more affordable because it's using two separate screens to keep the price down. And I have to admit, as a tech enthusiast, I really love this form factor. I can use it as a laptop. I can use it as a Windows tablet. I think the ideal way to use it is to set it up as like one big screen, use the included keyboard sitting in front of it. It's not just like having a laptop you could use anywhere, but a whole portable computer that you can use anywhere. Is it practical? I think as a device, it's very practical. At $5,000? Maybe not. This is one of those devices that seems to be created in order to test the market, to see, hey, what kind of interest is out there? Can we continue to make more of these and maybe be able to drive down the price over time? Because if we were looking at just price per spec, you could get 4 or 5 HP laptops at this price with traditional screens. Now, as far as pixels that it's packing, we're talking about 2,560 pixels by 1920 pixels. They're calling it a 2.5K display. That sounds about right, even though it's a 3:4 ratio when fully opened up. Most 2.5K displays are 16:9, but it kind of averages out to about that. It's OLED, so the colors look really good. The blacks look really rich. It's also a touch screen because it's also a Windows tablet. Internally, it has an Intel Evo Core i7 processor, 16 gigabytes of memory, and 1 terabyte of storage. This isn't configurable right now. This is pretty much the only configuration you can get. In laptop mode, which I think is probably the mode most people are going to use it in most of the time, it's a compact little experience. But when you unfold it and use it as a tablet, it's bigger than any Android tablet I have ever used. Taking the Galaxy S9 Ultra, putting it up against this, it's a little bit wider, but it's also, because of that 3:4 aspect ratio, it's much taller. So let's take a look at what comes in the box. You have the laptop slash tablet itself. There's also a keyboard trackpad combo thing, power adapter with a nice braided USB-C cable, very premium feeling. That power adapter also has a bonus on here, a USB type A port, so you can plug things in to charge your phone, that sort of thing. We also have a pen in here. This is an MPP pen, more on that in a little bit. Also included here is a little dongle with some USB ports, an HDMI port. This is a nice, thoughtful addition since this tablet only has 2 USB Type-C ports on it, and one of those you're probably going to be using for charging. There's a little USB charger for the keyboard, but this is cool. I never needed to use it because the keyboard will charge automatically when it's sitting on top of the laptop. And it's also designed to fit perfectly inside the crease of the laptop when you fold it up. So your keyboard will pretty much always be charged. Now on the tablet, we got the power button along the top. You also have some volume buttons as well. I mentioned those 2 USB Type-C ports. You have some speakers along the side. The positioning of those ports in laptop mode is a little odd. One of them is located logically kind of along the side on the bottom in laptop mode. The other one is located in the upper left-hand corner, so if you plug in a dongle there, it's gonna look kind of silly. When you're in tablet mode, that makes a heck of a lot more sense because that's technically the bottom of the tablet. Now, I mentioned earlier that I had used a Lenovo laptop that was similar to this earlier in the year, and what I really liked about it was just opening the thing way up, propping it up in front of me, and using the Bluetooth keyboard separately, so it's almost like a computer slash monitor hybrid. And that experience really impressed me. What makes this even better is the fact that you have that folding screen instead of 2 separate screens. Since this is a folding screen, this is not a hard glass screen. It's a more tactile plastic screen. Because of that, it seems to collect dust. And there's a little bit of a lip that this screen sits underneath. And when trying to remove some of the dust and some of those particles as I'm cleaning the screen, they get stuck along the edge, and it can be hard to get it all out. So cleaning the screen is still a little touch and go. On this device, there's this little rubber pad that it's sitting on in laptop mode, and underneath it, kind of hidden, in fact, I didn't really notice it the first day or so that I was using it, is actually a stand that you can kick out. And that sets this up at like an, I don't know, I'd say about an 85-degree angle when you're using it. And with the kickstand up, it's fairly sturdy. You probably don't want to use it if you've got kids running around or your dog jumping up on your lap every so often. But if you're in a workplace where nobody's bothering you, it's going to be fine. Unfolding this, holding it on your lap, drawing on it, it feels huge. And I've been drawing on the Galaxy Tab Ultra for a while, and to me, this still feels so much bigger. Using this as a mini laptop was better than I expected, because when I first saw it, it was just so tiny. I was worried that my hands would feel kind of cramped on that small keyboard, but overall, it was fine. To access that mode, basically all you have to do is fold this thing kind of up at a 90-degree angle, and as soon as you place the keyboard on top of the screen, it's going to automatically detect it and change you to that other mode. I was surprised at how easy it was to pair this, how easy it was to use this, and I wasn't really running into any glitches or quirks, which I kind of expected with this sort of setup. Also, taking a closer look at this keyboard, there's a bend right above the trackpad, between the trackpad and the keyboard. What that allows you to do is pull this down and use more of the screen real estate on the bottom half of that tablet. So that way you could take something like your music player and put it on that bottom screen and use more of that screen real estate. It's a little quirky getting things set up there, but once you do, it works pretty well. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. Let's get to the drawing test. But before we do, I want to shout out today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you want to see a cool Squarespace site in action, check out bradsartschool.com. That's my site. It's built entirely on Squarespace, so I can host my portfolio, my online courses, my buyer's guide, where I rank my favorite drawing tech. With the Fluid Engine, Squarespace gives you a next-generation website design system. It's never been easier for anyone to unlock incredible creativity. Starting with a best-in-class website template, you can customize every detail and reimagine with their drag-and-drop technology on mobile and on desktop. Speaking of those custom templates, it is a great place to start your website design. They've got all these categories that you can surf through and pick out the one that best fits your content and your unique needs. Make your idea, your brand, your business stand out online on any device. With their new asset library, you're able to manage all your files from one central hub and use them across the entire Squarespace platform. Head over to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to get started, go to squarespace.com/BradColbo to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. All right, we got to talk about drawing here, because one of the downsides of drawing on a folding screen is that physical bump or that seam that you get in the middle. Now, on the Galaxy Fold, which is the only other folding device I've ever really drawn on, that was the killer for me, because the screen is so small that you really need that real estate, and it is impossible to avoid drawing across that fold. The good news here is that on this device, that bump is kind of non-existent when you actually fold it out. Dragging my pen across this, I didn't notice that bump at all. My pen just smoothly went across the screen, no problem. Now, the pen that we are using here is an MPP pen. That stands for Microsoft's Pen Protocol, and I've used a lot of these pens over the years, and it's kind of a mixed bag. This is the same pen that Microsoft has been using across their Surface lines. It's a battery-powered pen, and it charges along the side of the device or along the bottom of the device when it's in laptop mode. It's a fairly thin pen, but I felt like it was well weighted. It leaves a good first impression when I was drawing with it. On extended usage, like a lot of these pens, the wobble became much more prominent to me. And the more and more I used it, the more and more I noticed it. And this is something we've seen across all these MPP pens. The one exception being the Microsoft Slim Pen 2, which I think has some more optimization, some more hardware stuff going on in the background, maybe underneath the screen, that improves that quite a bit. Unfortunately, you're not getting that here. And if you're thinking, can I take that Slim Pen 2 from the Surface line and use it here and get a better result? Unfortunately, no. I don't know what exactly is happening behind the scenes that creates this line, but it doesn't seem to improve it at all by switching which MPP pen I'm using. So if you are going to use something like this, you are going to have to use a lot of smoothing to get rid of that wiggling. That smoothing also, hurts some of your accuracy, because it's also going to add some lag to your pen lines if you're doing like really crisp pen lines like I do in a lot of my work. For photo retouching, for taking notes, for doing that sort of thing, this pen is going to be just fine. Because one of the benefits of an MPP pen is that it's really, really good at palm recognition and that sort of thing. But the pen pressure is good, the initial activation rate is good. It's just that wobble that kind of turns me off. There's some other features that are kind of worth mentioning here. The default sound, for example, is it's not great. It's also not horrible. What's going on here is the speakers are really loud. I never get the volume above like 6 or 8, and that's out of 100. Anything above 14 or 16, the audio starts to really distort and get yucky. Like I said, this is crazy loud, and that is your first impression of this computer, because as you're setting it up and getting it running, the sound, I don't know what the sound is set to. I think it was only around 25, but when you're setting it up, that sound kicks in, those sound effects kick in, and it knocks you off your chair. Hopefully this is one of those things that HP can go in there and do like just a little software update and kind of equalize a little bit and improve on. But right now, it's not a huge deal. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something to be aware of. Along with the sound, there are some other quirks here that I bumped into as well. For example, the power button works great for waking this thing up, but it's never worked for me when I'm trying to put it to sleep. The only way I know how to turn it off is to manually do it via Windows or close it up laptop style. I should also talk about the gold-plated elephant in the room. At $5,000, this is an incredibly niche device. This is the second or third folding screen laptop like this to make it to the market. So we're talking about tech that is crazy new. You are paying 100% for the novelty here. Like I said at the top, you could get like 3, 4, maybe even 5 laptops with similar specs for the price of this single device. With that said, I am glad HP is making this. If you're an early adopter with way too much money, you should totally buy one of these. So they're like, oh yeah, let's make another one and see if we can get the price down. Because this is incredibly cool, and I'd love to see them get the price down to like, I don't know, $2,500, maybe in a year or two. But yeah, generally those are my thoughts. Really cool product, really high price, nice experiments. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.